a lot of the things that we're going to be talking about today are not really rehab exercises. They can be used in a rehab situation, but we really want to stress that this is prehab. So this is going to happen before you get injured. This is kind of like the daily maintenance you should be doing for your shoulders and your elbows and wrists pretty much every day. Anytime that you're hitting, anytime that you're not hitting, the more mobile, the more flexible, and then the stronger we are in those ranges, the better that's going to translate to on-court performance. So to give you an example, if I was not able to raise my arm above my head, you would think about how when I'm trying to serve, I wouldn't be able to find that position, so I'd have to compensate somehow. So likely I would be doing something with my elbow coming forward. I'd be doing a lot of different, something different with my technique, which ultimately then puts my body in the wrong position, which then leads to the injury that may happen down the road. And that's where the tennis elbow, that's where the rotator cuff injuries come up. That's where things start to develop a little bit. So the better that you can find the correct position for that shoulder and everything else, the technique is then better, but then the chance of getting an injury is actually reduced because now your body's moving the way that it wants to. So let's go ahead and start with a little warm up. Okay, so you'll need your mats for this. We're gonna be basically on the ground. Okay. So we're gonna go into that quadruped position, that all fours position that we've been working on previously. So hands under the shoulder, hands under the hips, and we're just gonna reach underneath to the opposite side. I don't really have a lot of space on this side, but I'm taking my right hand, going under my left, and reaching to there. You can hold that stretch for about 2 seconds.
I'm really sore from all those push-ups you made.
This will be good for you then, because it'll.
So you keep the other arm straight.
Yeah, because you really want to start to feel that your upper back is rotating, and you want to keep that lumbar spine a little more stable here. So you don't want the hips to kind of move with you here. You really just want to feel that upper body rotating. So almost like your chest is pointed to the side. From the same position, we're going to reach across now. So you should start to feel this in your lap. So just at an angle in front. If you want to strengthen, or lengthen that stretch, you can put your butt back down to your heels and kind of go into a child's pose. And another 6 to 8 on each side of those. This is really, these are mobility exercises that we're doing here, but you can also use these as a dynamic warm-up. So you can really interchange them with the ones that we're going to be doing as our workout later. And I'll explain a little bit later that, but basically these are interchangeable. You can use them as the mobility work or as the dynamic warm-up. All right, same position. You're going to switch hands. So my left hand is here. I'm going to put my right hand there, and then I'm going to rotate up. So then when I go to the right side, left hand goes where my right hand is. Right hand rotates up. Eyes follow the hand as it goes up. So we're now rotating that upper back again. Now this is probably one of the,
as I thought.
This is probably one of the more important movements, mainly because this is exactly what you're going to be needing to do on the serve. If you're able to rotate that thoracic spine, the upper body, you're going to really unlock a lot of power, because then the arm won't have to do as much work. The shoulder won't have to do as much work to compensate for that lack of rotation. So the more movement, more range that you have here, the easier this is going to apply to your serve. Get the blood flowing a little bit. Last one is going to be for our upper back again. We're going to go into a full child's pose. So we're going to sit on my heels. If you can't get this far down, you can go on your toes and sit on the heels. But if you have the ankle mobility, go ahead and lay down here. We're just going to keep our arms out and we're going to lift. our hands off the mat. You only want to feel this in your traps, upper back, kind of right below the neck, and the back of the shoulder. Try to do these things every day, like I said. It's really going to help. You're going to notice a difference because we're going to use the wall as kind of our marker, and you're going to really know if you're improving or not based on how well you're able to do the next exercise. So we're going to stand up against the wall. So it's really important that you keep 3 points of contact here. We want our lumbar spine flat, our thoracic spine, our upper back flat, and then the back of our head touching. All three of those have to touch here. If at any point something comes off, you know you've reached that end range, okay? So from here, all I'm gonna do is bring my thumbs to go above my head. Now I want you to really pay attention as you get close to where you feel that end range is, because as soon as your back starts to come off or your head comes off, that's where I want you to stop. So make sure you're in control of this movement where we're coming up. And this is dynamic too. So we're going to come up, go to that end range, and come back down. If your thumbs can touch the wall, that's great. If not, pay attention to where you're ending up. So the next stretch, we'll stay on that wall. And we're going to go into a 90-90 external rotation. So we're going to find those 3 points of contact again. This time I'm going to make my shoulder at 90 degrees and my elbow at 90 degrees. So this is a little difficult angle to see, but I'll do my best from here. So I don't want to be low. I don't want to be too high. I don't want my elbow in or out. 90 degrees here. So this is going to bring my elbow about 15 degrees off the wall. So my elbow's not going to be pressing up against the wall. That's going to bring my scap and some other stuff out of position. So I want to stay neutral with that spine, 15 degrees off the wall with the elbow, and I'm going to rotate slowly back. I might also be able to flip the wall here. I'll try to crank this back where you're really like bringing that arm back. You really just want to rotate gently. You want to feel like there's a rod going from your elbow to your shoulder, and we're rotating like this. So as soon as I start to do this, or I start to influence it that way to get that little bit back, then I'm not really engaging that range of motion that I want to.
It's hard.
Yeah, these are all going to be harder than they look. These all look very simple and very easy, but it's the mind-body control, the mind-muscle control here that is really going to challenge you, because these are probably muscles that we're not really 100% sure how to fire. So once we get control of these, think about how that's going to translate on court, where we can then use them the right way. All right, so we're going to turn around. We're going to face the wall this time. This is a forearm wall slide. This is going to be for your upper back, your upper traps here. So this is not the rotators. This is going to be something that supports the scapula and the upper back and your neck. So we're going to start with a right foot forward. So you won't be able to see my feet, but my right foot is touching the wall. And I'm going to bring my hands to lightly rest up against the wall. So I'm going to be making this Y position. Kind of think about the angle that my body and arm makes here. It's about 135 degrees. So I don't want to go too wide to make a T. I don't want to go too high towards my ears to make an I. I want to make this Y. And I want to go really slow because I only want to feel this in my upper back. And if you want to try to learn how to fire these muscles, you're going to try to squeeze those shoulders down, and that's going to lift your hands off the wall. So you're really unweighted here. You're not trying to lean on the wall and roll up that way. You're really just sliding the hands up, and you're really trying to get the scapula to roll up, glide up on the back of the rib cage. Next thing you'll need is either a stretching strap or a resistance band, a light one. If you don't have it, you could do this with a broom. You could do this with a stick. You can also just do this without anything. But what I'm going to do with the band I'm just going to hold it a little bit wider than shoulder width, hold it down at my waist. I'm going to bring it up, and then I'm going to come all the way around. So you can really gauge where your hands need to be. If you've got really great mobility here, you can probably go a little closer and then get all the way around. I tend to go a little wider just because here at the top, I have to really bring those shoulders around. This is a really great warm up, really great strength exercise to really get mobile here. If you hear clicking as well, don't worry about that as long as it's not painful. All right, so next one, we're gonna go back to the floor. So we've done these, we did this a little bit in the warm up. I'm gonna give you a little variation. So all it is just hand behind the ear. We're not pulling the head, we're not doing anything here. Again, knees under the hips, hands under the shoulder, and we're just gonna rotate up again. So this is that thoracic rotation. And you might find this one a little more challenging than the one where we're reaching our hand up.
Okay, I can't do this at all.
What's troubling you?
My whole shoulder.
Gotcha. Does it feel like it's tight or you're not able to find that range of motion?
Oh no, I just am tight.
Okay, yeah. So to work within what range you have, you know, you might be tighter than others, or I might be tighter than, you know, everybody's going to be a little different. So work in the range that you're comfortable with. And again, you stay consistent with stuff like this, you'll start to see a result. So where you start really doesn't matter. It might be a little discouraging to start with, but over time, you'll see an improvement. And then go and switch sides after about 8. That looks good, Laura. Laura, if you can bring your knees back just a little bit, just bring your knees, yeah, there you go. But then maintain that same position with your shoulder. That looks a lot better.
And this is good for what does this help us with?
So again, this is that thoracic rotation. So I wish I had some videos. Actually, yeah. So basically when you're serving, one of the areas where you're gonna get power, so you're gonna get power from the legs, you're going to get power from the external rotation of your shoulder, or sorry, the internal rotation of your shoulder, and then the thoracic spine, the upper body rotating. So if you think about a pitcher, you know, that pitcher is going to be turning and uncoiling when they're throwing the ball. The same thing with the server. The server's turned, and then this rotation happens here. Now, the more that I can coil here, the more that I can then uncoil into the ball. So
does that give you more power?
Yeah, 100%. So it really allows your arm to accelerate through the ball a lot quicker without you having to use the arm to create that power. So basically we're talking kinetic chain here, where if any part of that chain breaks, the next link has to compensate for that break. So if you're breaking here, everything has to then be compensated by the shoulder. And you think about what the size of the thoracic rotation and then the size of the internal rotation of the shoulder here, this is going to break down a lot quicker than this would. So you think over time, like, oh, great, my serve's doing fine. But if you don't have that thoracic rotation, this is going to break down a lot quicker. So when we're talking about injury reduction, this is a great, like, it was a great question because this is exactly it. This is one I don't want you to push too far on, but you know, pay attention to where your limits are here. So we're going to start with our hand really flat against the wall here. And I'm just going to walk forward to bring my chest in front of my arm. So you can see that basically I look like this. So I'm going to really be stretching my chest here. I only want to go as far as I can where I can feel this in my chest.
Can you show the wall again?
Yeah, so basically it looks like this, Laura. Put your hand up against the wall, and then you're going to turn your fingers to point backwards, and then just walk. That's probably the easiest way to find it. Walk forward. You're going to feel this pull right here. So it looks like this from this side.
Just hold it.
Yeah, just hold it. It's going to be kind of a isometric stretch. We're going to hold this one for.
Okay, Adam, can you show us the foam roller version? I had to run downstairs. I will be so much better organized.
So you're going to lay on the foam roller. So you're going to lay the foam roller flat. You're going to line up your spine on the foam roller. You're going to then start your hands up. You're going to bring them down to a T and then come back up. So what's going to happen is because you're off the ground now, you're going to be able to bring your hands closer to the ground, and you're going to feel that stretch across your upper chest.
This is a good stretch for those push-ups you made us.
For sure, yeah, totally. This is a great shot. So if you've been doing like at-home workouts where you're not really doing a lot of pulling, but you're doing a lot of pressing, this is great. Do this every day. But a lot of those home workouts are going to say do 100 push-ups and 100 squats. But it's actually tennis players are going to be doing a lot more pulling. We need to be doing a lot more pulling. Yeah. That's something that I'll be sending out later too with the resistance bands and stuff. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. There's a couple other things that I want to go over real quick before we get into the tennis elbow. But if you have two tennis balls laying around, duct tape them together. This is a great way to get a lot more mobility because it's basically a self-massage here. So the way I can use this is I can put this right underneath my shoulder blades up against the wall. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the same movement here. So now I'm able to dig under those shoulder blades. Ooh, all that tightness there.
That looks good.
Yeah, so it's a really cheap way to get a good massage. A little painful at first. You can also do this laying down, where it just really gets in there and unlocks a lot of that tightness that you probably have under there that you didn't know you had.
Wait, Adam, where are you putting that again?
Can you turn in
here? So if you think about where your shoulder blades kind of meet at the bottom here.
Yeah.
When I rotate up, the shoulder blade then moves with.
But then you are not trying to push your lower back to the wall.
That one correct. Yeah. So that's where if I do this on the ground, I will try to do that just so I can get a little deeper in the stretch. If you don't want to torture yourself with that, you can torture yourself with a lacrosse ball too, and it's kind of the same thing where I can really just move along the muscles and start to feel where those knots are. Like I got a really big one right here, and I'm just going to keep working it a little bit, and you'll start to feel that pop out. So the more that you've got that length on the muscle, the more you're going to be able to move it. Some other tools that work really well is a Theracane. So this is where I
have that.
Yeah, when my wife doesn't want to do it for me, I just grab this. Also, if you have a massage gun too.
I have that too.
Really good. So yeah, really great way to just loosen everything up and start using these tools like the right way every day. I mean, as much as you can. Really, this is injury prevention or injury reduction, I should say. I think at any point we will likely all get injured, whether it's something minor or something major. The more that you're taking care of your body in those end ranges and that mobility, just the longer you're going to be able to play. I guess we'll go ahead and transition right into our forearm elbow stretches. So has anybody dealt with tennis elbow here before? I'm sure everybody. It's very, very common. So I want to preface this before we actually get into it that this is not really treatment. This is more of a pre-treatment. So if you are not injured, this is going to be better for you than if you already are ailing with it. So if it's something that's super painful, it's already super inflamed, I would wait for that inflammation to die down before you actually start doing these. And that obviously means resting. But if anybody's pain-free, everybody's pain-free and whatnot, and not really dealing with it now, we can really go through these, and this is going to be pretty simple. So if you have the resistance bands, we can all do these all with resistance bands, or you can do these with small weights. So we'll start with, let me get situated here.
What does small weights mean?
Less than 3 pounds.
Okay.
Yeah, nothing major. I mean, you can definitely do this with more weight, but it's better to start, you know, pretty low. Put the stress on the muscle so you can control it rather than really overuse it. Okay, so we're going to be doing wrist flexion and extension. So I'm going to step on my band. So I've got a loop at the top. So like that. If you have a looped resistance band, even better. But we're just going to get it so we have tension basically like that, where band is flat on my hand. You might have to wrap your thumb around it a little bit. But we're just going to be doing this. This can be a little tricky with the band. If you have one with a handle, this is where it gets a little bit easier. And all we're doing is resting that arm on our knee, and we're just rotating up. The palm is down. Palm is down, and we're just rotating up here. So again, if you just have the weight, then you're just going right here. Find it range.
So no movement in the elbow, just the wrist.
Correct. That's a great question. Yeah, we don't really want to influence this weight moving with anything else, so there's no picking up of the weight here. You should feel it's 100% in that forearm.
Yeah.
Nothing above.
This is strengthening the muscle?
Yeah. Yeah, well, so the stretches are going to be basically the same as the strength training. We're just going to be holding them. So the stretch would just be this or this. So that's stuff that we've done, you know, you've probably done those before. But again, it's not so much that we've all done them before. It's more like, let's be consistent with them. The more consistent you are, the better, obviously, it's going to be for you. So we'll do that on the other side as well. We want to make sure that we're getting both the extension and the flexion. So we're going to be going with our palm up and our palm down, and we're going to be going to opposite sides as well, left and right arm. So that's flexion and extension. Again, pretty basic. You won't really have to spend a lot of time on this. The next is going to be deviation. So if you can see my wrist, I'm going this way. So if I have that band anchored to something, I can pull.
So are you turning just down, or are you turning away from your body?
Basically, I'm bringing my thumb up, and I'm not trying to use my elbow too much, but it's just this.
Okay.
So you want to feel the tension so that you're able to feel it as you pull and as you bring it back. So this is again where a weight might be a little bit easier to do. Yeah, try not to rotate as you do this. It might help to hold the weight at the end where you're then able to bring it up, point it down, point it up, point it down.
This is all in the wrist, correct?
All in the wrist, 100%, yeah. The other things we can do too that we didn't really talk about today, but just doing a simple kind of wrist mobility like this is going to help a lot too, because it's going to really start to loosen everything up. So the more that you can really get into different wrist positions and you're comfortable there, the better. Basically, in my experience, tennis players have a lot of trouble with push-ups because we end up in this position. But when you think about it, when I'm swinging a forehand, or when you should be swinging a forehand, your wrist is always in that position. So putting your wrist here, a little bit harder to do push-ups. That's why, like, for me, I like doing neutral grip push-ups. But you know, the more that we're working on these type of stretches like this, holding these, and then stuff like this, we're going to start to make those wrists a lot more comfortable in those positions. And ultimately, again, that's going to translate to better performance on court because you can find those positions to hit the forehands and hit the techniques that way.
So this is the kind of thing you could just do all day long.
Yeah, it's what I would recommend is basically on the movements we were doing before, it's going to be 8 to 10 reps per, and maybe like 2 sets. You know, you can do one in the morning, one in the evening. I think I like doing these in the morning too because it's kind of just, it gets everything opened up and you start to feel a lot better. You don't feel really tight. Tennis players tend to be here a lot, so the more that we're able to really put the shoulders back and open the chest and get everything activated, it's going to pay dividends later.
Yeah.
So I would do those maybe twice a day, and then the forearm and wrist stretching stuff, you can do that twice a day as well. Do it when you're on the couch. You're not really in between whatever. That was fun. So the last one that we're going to do, this is a little fun one. I've been doing this a lot with a broom. So if you have a broom handy, you can use it, but I'm going to show you with my Theracane here. And again, you don't really need to do this right now, but just want to show everybody. So I'm going to have my arm palm down, I guess, right here, or palm up, I'm sorry. I'm going to have something long that's weighted on the other end here, and I'm just going to rotate.
Oh, yeah.
So I like doing this with a broom. It's a little fun. It keeps my cat entertained. But it's just a rotation. It's a pronation and a supination. So when you think about what the serve looks like, this is pronation when that forearm turns here. So the stronger I can be on that, the more snap I can get into the ball. Now that's not wrist snap that you've probably heard before. The wrist snap actually is this. It's this rotation. So the stronger I am here and the stronger I am here, that's your serve. Then we start to unlock the thoracic, and we put all of that together. Everybody's already doing the legs. I mean, we've pretty much got that. So then we put that whole chain together, you've got an awesome serve. So I like to do about 20 of these on a side, switch over, do it on this side, and then do it again. I got to find something heavier than the broom, though. I need like a shovel or something. And you can do those. You can do those with a tennis racket. You can like tie a ball to the top of it. You can get creative with it now that we're kind of stuck, kind of being creative with our fitness. But yeah. So again, do those, all of those pretty much every day. Those are not load-bearing exercises. They're not stuff that's going to really put you in a lot of pain. It's actually, it should alleviate some issues, mainly because you're working in those ranges. So you're going to start to get stronger in positions that maybe you weren't very strong with before. I can tell you that all of these exercises I used when I had a shoulder injury about 5 years ago, and this was great for me to keep my range of motion even if I didn't have my strength. So when I was on the PT table, they were telling me, look, your range of motion is awesome. You're just not very strong there. So it was a lot easier for me to get back onto the court, and hopefully none of us will be there, but that's why this is prehab. This is always before you get injured. The more you're doing this stuff to stay strong and stay well conditioned, the more likely you are to stay on the court and stay healthy. And that's ultimately the goal, is that we never have to come off court to deal with an injury.